Hey, what's up guys, and welcome back to another League of Legends guide video. I hope you guys kinda did miss the series where I make guides about champions I'm really bad at. But of course, I had to make another one of these guides because it's been quite a long time and I've been spamming funny moments for quite a bit. So anyways, welcome back, and today we're gonna be looking over the champion Talon. Yes, the cancerous first blood champ. The guy who gets first blood like every single game. The guy who likes to one-shot ADCs and run away. And this is why ADC memes exist, because this guy is part of them. And before we go into the abilities and everything, let's talk a little bit about Talon himself. So firstly, Talon, Assassin's Creed wannabe. He has that blade on his hand that, you know, you stabby people that looks like the one in Assassin's Creed. But he's like a mix of a ninja and like an assassin. I don't know. Let's just say he's the hitman of League of Legends. I mean, I don't know too much about Talon on his lore and everything, but of course, because I don't really like reading, but sometimes I could get to it and, you know, we could just discuss a little bit about that. Actually, if you guys know about Talon, I think you should go down in the comment section below and tell me a little bit about him, because I have no idea. I like reading comments, that's different. When I see like massive writing of like lores and crap, I'm just like, I don't want to read this. But maybe if you guys summarize up Talon for me in the comment section, I will read it. I will 100% read it. It's just as long as you guys tell me. So yeah, the reason that Talon is a very heavy first blood champ is because his kit is really strong, because he has two abilities that damage besides his ult, and those two abilities can proc his passive and also works for combos. And if you really don't know what Talon does at the moment, I will get into detail with him. Just sit back, relax, and we're gonna talk about Talon. So we're gonna move over to Talon's abilities, and we're gonna move over to his passive, which is Blade's End. Talon's abilities wound enemy champions and epic monsters every time they deal damage, lasting 6 seconds and stacking up to 3 times. And when you auto attack an enemy with 3 stacks on them, it consumes them, causing them to bleed for a bunch of damage. And it's all based on level, so at level 1 it will be like 60 damage, and at level 18 it will be 160 damage. And I'm not gonna mention too much of the scaling because every champion does get changed every patch, so, well, not every champion, but most champions are changed, and the scalings are there just in case for the day this video was made and you guys know what the scalings were and what they have been changed to after reading patch notes. So yeah, don't mind too much about these scalings. I'm not gonna mention them too much because remember, a lot of champions get changed all the time. Now we're moving over to his Q, which is Noxian Diplomacy. Now he has 2 different types of Qs that I'm gonna discuss with you. So there's active standard and active melee. Active standard is when Talon's standing pretty far from the enemy and he jumps onto the enemy when you press Q. It's almost like Yasuo's E, but I'd say this one kind of confronts the enemy rather than going through them. So Talon dashes onto his target, dealing physical damage. Noxian Diplomacy has a different effect if his target is within 170 units. And Talon's melee form on his Q is where he skewers his target, which does 150 bonus critical damage of Noxian Diplomacy's damage instead. If Noxian Diplomacy kills a target, so that can be a minion, a monster, a champion, Talon heals for 20 to 71 health, and 50% of the cooldown on Noxian Diplomacy is refunded. If you have a good amount of mana, or if you have blue buff, it's always good to farm up using your Q at the same time, because it also refunds 50% of your mana, and obviously with blue buff, it's not really going to be an issue. And it's really good for farming as well, or for getting that cannon minion. Now the next ability we're going to be looking at is Talon's W, which is Rake. Talon sends out a volley of daggers, dealing physical damage to every enemy they pass through. The daggers linger for 0.75 seconds, so they will stay in the air for 0.75 seconds when it's reached its maximum range, dealing physical damage to every enemy they pass through. So for Rake, when you throw out the 3 daggers, they turn into kind of like shurikens and they come back to you. So think of it this way, it's kind of like a boomerang. It's kind of like Ari's Q, but a little slower. The daggers will go out and then they will spring out, turning into shurikens. They will stay there for 0.75 seconds, and when they come back and it strikes the enemy again, if it strikes the enemy again while coming back, it will slow the enemy, which gives 2 of your passive stacks. And it's really helpful for gap closing because when you slow your enemies, it allows you to get closer with your Q and you can pretty much let off all of your damage there. So the next ability we're going to be looking at is Talon's E, which is Assassin's Path. So basically what Talon does is any terrain that you kind of see, you can jump over terrain. You can jump over almost any kind of terrain, and he dashes a maximum of 800 units over the target structure, so he can jump over a certain amount of things, and he can jump sideways or dash on a certain amount of things. So let's say you're opposite a wall and you are gonna walk up to it and you're gonna press E, and you can press E in the direction you want to jump over the wall. You can jump sideways on the wall, so like you can run along the wall and you can use that to get closer to your enemies quicker. You can use your E to jump over walls to go straight over the terrain, and bear in mind this only has a bit of cooldown from like 1 second to 3 seconds. So as soon as you've jumped over a wall, you can go over another one. But bear in mind this, whenever you jump over a wall, the wall is on cooldown for at least, I think, 100 seconds or something. But every time you level up, I think it's reduced. I think when you upgrade your E, it's reduced. But yeah, when you jump over a wall, you will see a red outline, which will show that the wall is on massive cooldown. And then when it's yellow, it means it's almost ready. And then there's no line, which means you can jump over the wall. Now, when this was released, everybody was complaining about it, and a lot of people loved it. But considering that his E is not even another damaging kind of ability, I'd say it's perfect because he doesn't need another damaging ability. He just needs something that will work and give him some mobility. Because even if Talon did have an E that did damage, it will be a lot easier for him to proc his passive, and then a lot of people will be complaining about his damage as well. And then it would just make Riot just go into nerfing Talon. But I think the best thing they did was Assassin's Path. You just Assassin's Creed parkour over everything. And sometimes it could be really annoying. So I need to advise you this. If you are playing against a Talon, I'd say you're wasting your time chasing them, okay? Unless you CC them pretty well, I'd say go for it. But every time I play Talon, I jump over a wall. The enemy flashes over the wall. And guess what I do? Jump over the other wall. And then it really annoys them. And then they're like, why did I even flash? Like, that's the thing. Most of the time, you just need to forget about killing Talon. Unless you know you can actually really kill him, then you can go for it. Otherwise, take a chill pill and don't waste your time chasing this guy. But if you're playing as Talon against a Talon on blind pick, then it's really up to you. But make sure you don't get caught up because the enemy Talon is probably likely gonna try baiting you when he's running away, or you could just play a little parkour game of chasing each other. And when getting chased by Talon, I'd say just try avoiding terrain and try to kind of go to your tower and kind of stay, well, not too much in the open where he can actually gap close you. I just say stick to your tower. That's the only thing that's gonna really help you. But sometimes even Talon can pierce you through the towers. So now we're gonna move over to Talon's ultimate, which is Shadow Assault. Talon throws out a ring of blades, dealing physical damage to all enemies they pass through, and gains Twilight Shroud invisibility for up to 2.5 seconds. So you get invisibility when you press R while your blades are scattered out, getting bonus movement speed for the duration. And that can really help for escaping and using your ultimate defensively. When Talon emerges from Twilight Shroud, which is the invisibility, the blades converge to his location, dealing the same physical damage to all enemies they pass through, breaking Twilight Shroud invisibility with a basic attack or Noxian Diplomacy, which causes the blades to converge to his target instead. So when you press ultimate and your blades do scatter out, there's two ways you can actually use them to pierce your enemies, or you can use them at the same time to be a distraction while you escape. So when you press ultimate and you auto-attack an enemy, if you walk up to an enemy and you auto-attack them, it will activate piercing effect, where it will make all your blades go into the enemy. Along with your Q as well. Your Q will also do that. But however, your W and E do not take part in this. Your W will not make your ultimate blades scatter on the enemy. Instead, it will all the blades will come back to you, but it will still damage enemies while the blades come back. So this can be used in many different ways, and that's why there's a lot of combos for this. And speaking of combos, we're gonna move over to them. So firstly, I really don't know every single Talon combo because there's a bunch of them that you can actually perform, and it allows you to use your summoner spells, pretty much almost everything. And speaking of summoner spells, I'd say that you want to go for Ignite on Talon, because Ignite plus your bleed effect on your passive is going to leave a lot of after damage on the enemy, and it will be really good for getting that first blood kill. So now before we move over to the combos itself, I want to show you guys a link to a video that I found on YouTube, and a lot of people that play Talon have already probably seen this, but this is an amazing video. So go ahead in the description below, and I'm going to link you over to this video, which shows you all the different kinds of Talon combos, and it's pretty much, I'd say it's every Talon combo that you can pretty much do. It's a really good video. It shows you how many different combos you can do, in what order and stuff. But of course, you can stick around and see the basics of combos on here before you move over there, or you could just leave the video and go ahead and start watching those combos. But of course, you want to come back for the builds and stuff. Otherwise, that video is amazing for Talon combo. And the only reason I'm linking you to that video is because that's where I got all my Talon combos from. So I'm not gonna really like put them all in my video and say I learned this all by myself. I actually want to give credit to this guy. This guy did an amazing job at making Talon combos, and he shows different examples and gameplay of how you can use them and how it was used in the actual gameplay he did. So go ahead, once again, go in the description, go watch that video, and we're gonna move over to the combos that I'll be showing. Alright, now we're on the practice tool, and now I'm gonna show you just a bunch of comboozles, and don't forget, honestly, check out that video that I am linking you guys to, which I previously talked about, because that video has a bunch of Talon combos that not even I can have learned or really remembered or anything. Combos work as long as you get your passive passive proc as long as the bleed effect goes off on them and you can pretty much kill your enemies pretty damn quick. So obviously when you use any ability or any damaging ability, you get like 1 stack over here. And of course, when you get 3 stacks, you can let off your passive. So here we go. I'm gonna do my W, Q, and obviously when the W comes back, it does a slow and also another stack. And then when you auto attack, you get the passive off, which makes them bleed for a lot. And trust me, early game, that is super deadly, and that's what makes Talon the best at first blooding people. Here, let me just quickly put on some cooldowns, or reduce cooldowns, sorry. And I'm just gonna do this, and then once it comes to the passive proc, you just ignite them as well. But of course, you don't ignite them after. Well, sometimes you can, but I'd say if you can get for a perfect engage, if you got 2 stacks on the enemy, and you know you can get them, if you're at a good range, and you know you won't die, you could just, you could ignite them, jump on them. When you Q, you also auto-attack as long as you click on the enemy and stuff. And remember, Talon has 2 types of Qs, so you can do a lot of things with that. So firstly, the most typical combo is W, waiting for it to come back, Q, and then auto-attack. That's the most simple and basic one. Then if you want to kind of like gap close and you're gonna kill someone that's melee and they think they can fight you and you know you can kill them, you can always go like this, and then you can go close and go for the Q, which will crit because the Q close range crits guaranteed, and you also auto attack. But a lot of people also do this. They also attack, auto attack, and then attack again, Q, auto attack. Stuff like that. They always fit in auto attacks, but only do that if you think you got the enemy slow enough. That's what your W is for. It's to slow the enemy down, so then, like, you can pretty much crap on them. And remember, if you kill a target with your Q, you do get some health back. And you get 50% of the cooldown back from your Q. So you can even gap close with your flash, so you gotta go flash W, Q, and wait for it to come back and auto attack again. That's kind of why you need your attack speed up a little bit, but you don't really need to rely on attack speed. It's just all about the timing. But if you really do want to go for attack speed, it's gonna be really helpful with your combos. But without attack speed, you're gonna have to be a little better at timing. Ultimate, that's exactly what it does. You turn invisible and blades are around. So when you press ultimate and you Q an enemy, as it says on the description over here, Qing an enemy while having your ultimate active does send all your ultimate blades into the enemy like this. But even along with that, even your auto attacks does that as well. But your Q is really good for it. Like here, look at this. W won't completely go into it because you need to use something that will hit your enemies. So it's got to be your Q or your auto attack. Here's normally what you would do when you're gonna all-in someone and just like they have no chance to probably escaping you. It's most likely gonna be the ADC, because when you're playing Talon, you're not a champion that's gonna go up and face everybody. You're more of a like legit. You're like a hitman. You gotta go sneak in. You gotta go kill people. You get at. But obviously, when it comes to late game and you have a bunch of kills, you could probably even take 1v5s. But also remember, he is squishy, and that's why you need GAN. I've just gotta build as an example over here. So we'll get to the combo now, which is W ult, and then when it comes back, it gives you the stack. Remember, your ultimate gives you a stack on the enemy too. Even when it comes back, it gives you the free stack. But yeah, normally you would just W and then you'd ult. So like you got 2 kind of blades and then you could just Q the enemy and go like that. But remember, there's many different orders you can do this in. Might not be the most efficient. This is just how I do it. And there are many different ways of pulling off combos with Talon. You can even use your E, for example. So here, I'm going to put a ward over here so I can see the enemy. Now, normally when you ult over here, let's say you ult on the ground and you jump over a wall, it will come straight to you. So that's kind of gone. So you can't really use that. So I'm going to use my ultimate while jumping on the terrain. You can actually use your ultimate while you're midway jumping through the terrain. So here, I'll show you an example. So my goal is to jump over the wall and ult, so the ult sticks there, and you can bring it along here. So mainly you can use this, so when you jump over the wall, you're invis straight away. And people won't know where you... Well, it depends where you jump at and where people see you and where you're jumping from. So people will think, like, you could jump over this wall, ult. If you're gonna escape, you're gonna just walk backwards. Because remember, you can use your ult in many different ways. You can use it for attack and defense. Defense because you go invisible and you can pretty much run away. You're like a freaking Vayne plus Yi, like Vayne's invis plus Yi's movement speed. So you could always rake the enemy, flash, whatever. You can add your own top combos, but that's not what I would normally do, unless if it's to catch someone off guard. Now, here's something you gotta quickly pull off. This is probably like, you gotta be kind of quick. So what we want to do is with this, we want to kind of cast that while we're in our ult form. But remember, when you do that, obviously the, whoa, why did that cast out twice? The ultimate goes back to you. The blades go inside you. It still damages enemies that it touches, but still, you need it to pierce enemies. So what you want to do is while you're in your ult form, you want to throw your rake blades, and then you need to quickly press Q on the enemy, so these blades stab them instead of going back to you. So you ult W Q, and then auto attack. Make sure you get off that passive. Because I'm not the best at it, but honestly, Talon for me has been freelo for a very, very long time. Honestly, this guy, when he first bloods, you get to pull off some pretty amazing combos to kill people. Throw an ignite on him. The bleed plus ignite, obviously because this is a dummy bot, it's not really going to take much damage as we expect because dummies are pretty OP and they have 10,000 health. But remember, you can always build crit as well because his Q is a guaranteed crit when you are close range and you crap on enemies. But yeah, that's enough of the basic combos, so you guys can go ahead and click that link and we're going to move over quickly back to the guide. Right, so that was just pretty much a simple display on the combos that I showed to you. But remember, go check out that video. That's an amazing video for Talon combo. The only reason I'm not talking about runes, well, I will get a little in detail with them now actually, is because we're very close to season 8 from the day of making this video. We're really close to moving to season 8. And if you guys don't know about season 8, you probably do because a lot of people have been talking about it. Season 8 is gonna make runes free and there's gonna be new runes introduced along with the keystone runes and new gameplay. So I don't really want to fill you in too much with the runes, but I will advise you when it comes to runes, you want to go for a little bit of attack speed because your auto attacks are going to be really useful for proccing your passive, and you can proc it on multiple people. Remember that. That's why you kind of want your attack speed up, and you need it for farming. But along with that, you really want attack damage quints because you want to get that early first blood, but you don't really need to spam your rune page with attack damage. You just need at least some attack damage that will be good for farming and for getting that nice juicy first blood. Then you can always go magic resist glyphs or scaling armor yellows or anything that you will personally like, but I would say you want to go for resistance. So I'd say flat armor and a bit of scaling armor as well, and then a bit of flat magic resist and a bit of scaling magic resist as well. So kind of balance it out between the scaling and the flat, but you can always go all flat, or if you're feeling a little bit risky, you can always go all scaling, but I really wouldn't advise that because Talon is very squishy in the beginning of the game. But that doesn't mean he can't get his first blood. So now that we got the runes out of the way, we got Masteries to talk about. So Masteries, the keystone we really want to go for is Storm Raider's Surge or Thunderlord's Decree. But I would highly advise Storm Raiders if you're starting off with Talon, because Storm Raiders is really good for escaping after you get a bunch of damage done on the enemy, because Talon does a lot of damage early game, and at level 2 he's likely to get his first blood because he has the best kit for getting that level 2 engage. And Storm Raiders will give you that nice movement speed that you can use to either gap close or escape from the jungler. And I've had this problem many times where the jungler would come in when I've almost finished off the enemy, but that's what Storm Raiders is there for. When you get a bunch of damage done on the enemy laner and you got a jungler coming at you, Storm Raiders will give you that nice movement speed, and when it comes to level 3, you can always use your E to move along the terrain to escape junglers, and that's why it's not really easy to kill Talon and gank. But I'd say it's still possible, unless you're playing someone that really does lock down an enemy champion like Sejuani. She really does lock down enemy champions. And of course, we're sticking to Assassin because you're going to be most likely single target and you're going to be versing one person. And Bandit is really good because even when you miss minions, because sometimes you get that issue, you miss minions, you get minions, or you hit an enemy, you get gold for it. You get free gold for it. I wouldn't say Dangerous Game is really advised because you can pretty much jump over almost any wall. I'd say Greenfather's Gift could be a good pick, but I would always go with Bandit because whenever I poke the enemy with my W, I get free gold for it. I get free gold for losing CS and for getting CS and for hitting enemies, but that's my personal preference. You can always go something else. Then Precision, because of course you want that lethality. Your goal is to like assassinate people, and that's why I went the Assassin Mastery as well. And you're most likely going to be single targeted, and Precision will really help with the early amount of damage you got. So some people do go Ferocity, but I put the rest of mine into Resolve, and because I like using my summoner spells a lot with Talon, so mainly my Ignite, that's why I go Insight, which reduces the cooldowns on your spells, and that's really why I put it into Resolve, and I put the rest of the points in anything that personally made me think that it will be really good on Talon. So now that we moved over from his Masteries, we're gonna move on to the build. So here's a bunch of items, and the top line is the typical Talon build that most people will likely go. And I'm gonna advise you this: whenever you're going against someone you counter or someone that's equal to you or a skill matchup, I'd say you go Duskblade first. But of course, if you want that mobility, you can go Yumu's first. A lot of people debate between Yumu's and Duskblade, and that's kind of like with Zed. A lot of people debate between Duskblade and Yumu's, but I'd say the amount of slow that you get from Duskblade really does help with your gap closing and completely craps on the enemy with the damage it does. And remember, Talon's really good for getting in and getting out. That's what she said. So he can assassinate people, kill the ADC most likely, make them a meme, and get out of there. So on the second line, which shows Black Cleaver, Mortal Reminder, and Lord Dominic's Regard, are the kind of things you really want when you're going to shred tanks, and you're most likely going gonna take Black Cleaver. And Black Cleaver is super good because of the 20% CDR, plus the health, plus the amount of armor reduction you can do. You can always go Lord Dominic's Regard for piercing your enemies, and Mortal Reminder for killing people that have insane healing. Like, honestly, you really don't want to fight a Mundo or a Fiora unless you got this item. And the boots really is situational. Like, if you're really dominating and you know that no one's really killing you and they don't really hurt that much, you can go mobility boots to move around the map a lot more, roam, and get some kills. Ninja Tabby, of course, it's for fighting against heavy AD champions or just auto attack based champions, for example, Yasuo. And then Mercury Treads, you really want this against your AP counters because Talon has a lot of counters that are on the AP side. For example, Annie, Syndra, people like that. And then at the bottom, these are items that you really can build on Talon. Like, no one will tell you otherwise that why are you building this item? No, honestly, these items are pretty good. Not many people build Infinity Edge, but I'd say it's good for your close range Q because it crits. And of course, Infinity Edge has a bunch of crit and a bunch of damage. Death Stance and Ravenous Hydra, you can always use those. Ravenous is good for the clear, and Death Stance is good for executing and getting some health back. Is good for executing, and I'd say it's got a pretty good amount of health giving as well. Is whenever you're going against heavy AP champions, you always build a Hex Drinker. No matter what. So when it comes to Annie, honestly, I'd say Annie so far is the biggest counter I've met so far with Talon. Sometimes I would build my Serrated Dirk or whatever, but whenever the enemy champion is just doing super good and they're just crapping on me, I would just stop building that and I would go straight for a Hex Drinker. Normally you would just rush a Hex Drinker, or you need that in your build somewhere. You just need that early game to avoid getting crapped on, and so you really don't feed. Now, people that counter Talon, or most people that have problems with Talon, and this is not only my opinion, I went online and did some research and saw what other people thought was a Talon counter. My opinion, I'd say Annie, only because her abilities are super far ranged, along with her auto attacks as well. And comparing her range to yours, honestly, she outranges you. But I'm not saying she's impossible to kill. I'd say either I was just an idiot, or she just really does crap on everyone. Yorick too. Yorick is pretty freaking tanky. And by Yorick, of course, we mean the new Yorick. We don't mean the baggy, haggy, old ballsack Yorick. Diana, because she always gets a shield. With Riven, I'd say somewhat. Swain definitely does crap on you. Victor, I'd say you want to think twice before picking Talon into Victor. Fizz, a lot of people say Fizz, but I would personally think that that is a skill matchup because I've come down to killing a bunch of Fizz. Shyvana definitely because she's super tanky and it's really hard for you to kill her, but I would say don't even go for the Shyvana until you really have a tanky piercing build. And then let's end off with Pantheon. You know what Pantheon's like. He craps on everyone. Talon goes even with Twisted Fate, Jace, and Zed. Sometimes Syndra as well, Azir, and LeBlanc. And Talon is pretty strong against Kassadin, Lux, Veigar. You know, a lot of those squishy AP champions. And by squishy, I mean those that really can't mess you up. And they don't have ridiculous cooldowns early game as well. So now that we've covered every single detail about Talon, we're just gonna go over summarizing him and ending off the video. So like I said, Talon is an assassin. He likes to go in and get out. You normally want to hunt for the squishy champions, and whenever you're dominating your mid lane, you want to look to start ganking other lanes. Talon's really good with roaming because of his E, and his E allows you to move around the map a lot more, and it makes you super quick at moving around the map as well. And it makes you super quick at moving around the map, running away from enemies, and using it for combo reasons. I'd say early game, you can always go for tanks as well, but I'd say mid game, you want to kind of be careful and still go for the squishy champions. Whenever you go for the squishy champions, you're good to go. Whenever there's a fed tank, I'd say try avoiding them, but always engage them with your team in a way where it doesn't really mess you up and your allies up. And by that, I'm really pinpointing Darius. So you want to kind of just get your poke in there and you want to get your passive off, but you really don't want to stay too close to him because you know what he's like. And Black Cleaver works a lot better on him than it does to Talon. Talon's pretty good at gap closing, squishy champions, and he's really good at one-shotting people. And when I mean one-shot, I mean like the Duskblade in patch 7.14. That's how strong it is. You all remember that, right? That Duskblade that was just super powerful that you can use it on even supports. And by supports, I mean you can use that shit on Lulu and Janna. It's kind of stupid. That was very, very stupid, but that's the entirety of Talon's kit. He can do more damage than that Duskblade, but of course this is using his entire kit. And cause he's so single targeted with his Q and his ultimate, I mean his ultimate can hit many enemies and it will give you the passive stacks. But honestly, when it comes to using your Q and then using the blade and using the dagger blades that that from your ultimate, they're most likely single targeted. So I'd say use that against champions that are heavily carrying but also are squishy, and that's mainly likely going to be ADCs. And then once you use that, I'd say try your best to avoid anyone else unless you can still stay in the fight. You can always still use the rest of your kit to fight, because remember, Talon builds lethality items. When you have Duskblade, Yumu's, and Black Cleaver, you already have full CDR. You have 40% CDR, and your Q and W is pretty much up like every 3 to 5 seconds. And remember, killing targets with your Q does refund 50% of your cooldown. So imagine killing an enemy with your Q. You get it back instantly. That's super ridiculous. And you gotta remember this. Talon is the best at first blooding champions. By far, the best at first blooding champions, because at level 2, you get to proc your passive straight away, and you can crap on the enemy. And make sure you got Ignite so you can actually do some extra true damage. Other than that, I think that's pretty much Talon all summed up. So anyways, guys, if you guys enjoyed this video, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. If I missed anything out about Talon, or if you guys want to give me more advice on Talon, please put it down in the comment section below, because I love feedback, no matter how blunt it is, how good it is, how polite it is. I love any kind of feedback. Be as blunt as you want. Tell me to frick off if you really want me to. Tell me to eat some shit while I'm at it, but you know what? I always want some feedback, no matter what. Be as blunt as you want, because I want some straight up feedback. Because, of course, now, before we hit Season 8, I have hit Gold, and that's because I was tryharding like crazy. But, of course, I want to learn a lot of things about champions in before I even try to hit Platinum or Diamond. That's if I even get that far, but I really highly doubt it. But remember, anything is possible at this very moment. And I will be making a lot more guides as well, because I've kind of been slacking on the guides. I should be doing a lot more of these, and I love making guides. It's just they don't take as long as they do with my funny moments videos. Like, I'm gonna admit that, because I spend a lot more time with my funny moments videos, but I'm kind of overdoing it a little. So I think I want to kind of throw you a little bit of different content rather than having every one of the same. Or it's not really every one of the same. I'm just saying, like, it's just the series type. It's just all really too similar. But I will give you a bunch of other stuff, and I will make sure I will try my best to up this channel. And I really do thank you guys for actually supporting me on my channel, because the ad revenue that I actually got to set up that RP giveaway for you guys, and also my next payment, I will be able to buy more equipment, which is really going to help me get better at. Well, it's really going to improve the quality on my content, and I think that's going to be amazing for you guys. So everything that pretty much comes to AdSense, I will be using that in the equipment of improving the video quality and for improving the channel overall. And I will still use ad revenue to give that back to you guys. I will be using that to get more RP and get you guys back for it, because remember, I'm going to be doing RP giveaways every week very soon. Now, we'll let you guys know more in detail about that when we come closer to that. So anyways, guys, thanks for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this guide. Please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Go ahead, throw a comment about Talon's lore and how you can play Talon and what things I missed out and what I could improve on. A bunch of stuff like that. And that's about it. So thanks for watching, and I will see you guys later. Peace!